Welcome to Cleaning Company Blueprint. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of people start their own cleaning companies. We're currently hosting a 21-day program on Zoom, and we're posting the recordings here live on YouTube. So if you want to follow along, subscribe and like the video.
So I'll give everybody another minute or two, and then I'll introduce our guest speaker tonight. I'm sure you're all sick of listening to me and Kevin and Rohan and Jen, so it's nice for us to have someone else in here. I'm stoked. And there we go. While we're waiting for everybody, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. Courtney, were you able to get into our closed community? I'm going to take you off mute. Yeah, you're in? Okay. I think you were the last one. Okay, great.
Yep. Thank
you, Courtney. I apologize for that. You were one of 3 people that just kept getting left out of that group. So
no worries.
Awesome. That's the most important thing. You need access to this group, everybody. So use it because this is the most powerful resource. We're almost done this whole thing. And having this community is going to save you, especially in 6 months' time when you're like, how do I? Everybody here is going to have an answer. So not to worry. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the fabulous Josh. I'll give you a little bit of backstory here on Josh. So Josh Resnick is from Fox Quilt. When we first started Oak Bay Clean back in July 2021, my sister Jen had done about 3 months of research, just looking online, looking for insurance for independent contractors who are cleaners. And so she was just getting a bunch of quotes from all these different providers and watching like, how long do they take? How easy is it for the cleaners? Why would they not sign up for it? Because she knew that a lot of cleaners don't have their own insurance. And that was just from doing research on the competition, right? And she'd be like, oh, people don't have insurance. So they work with companies because companies have insurance, but the individuals don't. And we want to work with individuals that are already working as cleaners. So how do we help them to get this insurance? Because it's such a roadblock for your cleaners. And you guys are all going to see this when you get on the phone with them and you're like, do you have insurance? And I guarantee 99% of them are going to say no. And then if you ask them why, they're going to say, it's really expensive. I don't think I need it because I never break anything anyway. And it's really expensive. So when Jen found Fox Quilt, and then I got on the phone with them, I was like, listen, this is the objection. How do you guys overcome it? And they said, we do monthly payment plans. And then I went, sold. Thank you. I need to be able to refer somebody that understands that a cleaner isn't going to have $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to spend on an insurance because they're living day by day, job by job, right? So that's where Josh came in and he created this payment plan system. When we first started working with him, they were just, I think, Josh, you guys were just in Canada?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We were in about 8 states when we first started to talk, and now we're licensed across 50. But
yes, and then we were bringing him in because we were doing Zoom calls with our community that you guys are all now part of. But at that time, it was not on YouTube, so we had a closed community, and we would, bring Josh in and have him talk to all the Americans and help them with their insurance. So now they're ready for you guys. They do all of North America now. So without further ado, Josh, can you please explain Fox Quilt and why this makes our lives easier?
For sure. And Vic, maybe just so I know, on the call today, is there people from both sides of the border?
Yes.
Okay, great.
But also this is going on YouTube, so it is an international audience.
Well, thanks guys for having me. It's the evening or nighttime actually for me. I'm from Toronto, Canada, but we work at Fox Quilt all across Canada and in the US. Do a lot of business out in BC, and then in the US, our headquarters is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Fox Quilt was kind of founded on the journey to empower small business owners with easier access to insurance. And some of the main verticals that we focus on are personal services, contractors, and e-commerce. They were kind of three verticals that we saw there was a big need for either independent contractors or small business owners to have insurance for the operations that they were performing. So essentially, that's what we did is we created an online flow and model to send not only small business owners, but also their independent contractors to get insured. So essentially, the main thing that I think everyone on the call should just be aware of is if you're owning and operating a business, that's going to expose you to risk, right? It's going to expose you to potential things that can go wrong on the job. That's why insurance companies are kind of founded, and there is to kind of step in when the unexpected happens, and there's a claim against either you as your organization or small business owner, or your employee or your subcontractor who's on the job. So I want to keep things pretty simple, and then I'll share some I'll share a landing page that we're going to send out to the entire group. But essentially, the main coverage that most small business owners are looking for is commercial general liability. So it's general liability coverage against third-party risk. And really what that means is if you're on the job and something goes wrong, there's an opportunity for someone to kind of claim against you. Let's maybe relate it a little bit back to cleaning. If you're either you send someone to do a cleaning job or you're doing it yourself, and unexpectedly the homeowner has a really crazy expensive carpet that looks a bit not that great to you, but apparently it's a $10,000 carpet. And while cleaning, something you do to perform an act damages the carpet. So essentially, you can be have a claim against you. You don't want to be out of pocket. We're probably not at the point where we're self-insuring ourselves. So that's when Fox Quote would step in and pay out a claim if that did happen. So essentially, we're doing that for small business owners, but then also the way at least Vic and Jen set up their business was they didn't want to have full-time employees. There is an option for you to get your insurance and list employees or just number the amount of employees you have. But most small cleaning companies that we see will do an owner policy for their business, for their commercial general liability. Sometimes their errors in admission, and then we'll definitely do their subcontractors because that's the most important. It's when the subcontractors are on the job, you don't want it to come back to your business. And a lot of companies, as Fox Quilt, when we insure a small business, there are indications that if you subcontract work, your subcontractors have insurance. So it's really important that if you are getting an insurance policy out for your small business and you have contractors performing work, that you ensure that they're also getting a small policy. And at Fox Quote, what we're trying to do is make insurance as easy as possible. Policies range in price depending on geography, but we are looking to minimize that cost, have monthly options, have online flows, which I'll show you in a second to come through, just to make it a little bit easier. Oh, and I see Courtney's out of Charlotte. That's awesome. We're in South End, so in the rail yard area. I don't know if you know where that is. Cool.
Yeah, the main thing is, you guys, is just knowing that the cleaners don't think they need it because they've been working on their own and they haven't had it. Or if they've come to you and they've worked for another company, if they were an employee under that model, their company had insurance for them. Or maybe that company was dodgy and didn't bother getting insurance, which, stay clear of. But they just don't know they need it. So you guys as people that are hiring them, you really need to educate them. Okay, because they won't understand. So you do have to do a little bit of work on your end to explain this is to protect you. You're an independent contractor. You're going to pay your own taxes. You're going to provide your own supplies. You're going to dictate when you work. And that's important. So don't tell them, no, you have to work Monday. If you do that, they're now an employee. Okay, so you've got to let them decide when they want to work, and that's going to be hard for some of you to adjust to, but it will work out better in the long run if you follow all my hiring stuff. And then the insurance piece is very important, because otherwise they're going out there completely unprotected.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I saw a question come up, so I can probably answer it within the explanation. So let me know if you guys can see my screen now. We're good.
Yep. Totally.
Okay, cool. So this is what we prepared for the group. It's a landing page that will provide access to anyone coming through this program to get insurance, either for your cleaning company or, again, your subcontractors that come through. It's pretty straightforward. There's a get a quote now button. It's all tied to a link, so we know people are coming through the cleaning program, and can have our producers, if you need someone to talk to, cater messaging. It's fairly simple. It's tailored to businesses. You can get your policy sometimes in minutes. Sometimes if there's more questions, you're definitely going to be same day. And we really do like to try to minimize costs by providing good terms and monthly payment options. And I kind of answered the question earlier of like why you need insurance, but here are some coverages that make sense for the kind of cleaning vertical. So we talked about CGL, that's commercial general liability. The next one is commercial auto. I don't know if this one's going to be as prevalent, but it would mean that literally the car is being used almost solely for business purposes. So sometimes if you ever see like, cleaning companies that have like branded cars and things like that, that would be a commercial auto on either they call it an individually rated commercial auto or a fleet. We don't see many come through within our cleaning programs. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Mobile equipment, and this is also known as inland marine. This one could be important if you do have equipment on the job, or your subcontractor has equipment on the job and something's damaged. Usually, again, people are willing to kind of self-insure that because it might be a $500 vacuum, but larger contractors that have lots of tools and expensive drills and things like that would be purchasing this form of equipment. Crime and bonds, again, it's a little less used, but if you wanted to purchase something in about maybe an employee was dishonest, you did have employees and there was theft involved. But again, it doesn't come across our independent contractors very often for a coverage. And then the last one is workers' compensation. This is a US coverage. Within Canada, it's all around the WISB, but workers' comp could be important if someone gets hurt on the job. Again, this would be if you had employees. If they're subcontractors, they might choose to take out their own policy for something like this. But usually what we would see for workers' comp is, a company that has a few employees, they want to get workers' comp for themselves and their employees, or a subcontractor wants to get a policy themselves to protect them on the job. So those are the coverages. I'm going to answer the question that came up around errors in mission. So the big difference is that commercial general liability is third-party coverage, essentially against damage that happens or injury that happens on a job, where errors in mission is more around advice that was given in an incorrect fashion, for instance, or there was a wrongdoing on an owner's part that caused harm to an employee or a financial aspect of it. So we don't see it again very often in this, and I might have butchered it. So Vic, we might want to take that out. But if you do need any help in getting guidance on the errors and mission piece, we'd be happy for one of our brokers or agents just to talk you through it. But essentially, it's very different than commercial general liability. CGL and GL policies would be the most important thing for you to cover your business with right now. If things expand and you're doing quotes on larger jobs or commercial venues or avenues, then errors in mission can come in play because you're dealing with contract and financial terms. That's probably the best way to put it. But again, I could probably get you a better explanation after.
No, that was good. I think the main thing is with the current model that we're advising in our class anyway, focusing on residential because there's less of a barrier to entry. Whereas if you do a commercial cleaning company right now, then you are going to have to deal with things like the big machines. So for example, if you got a contract to clean a supermarket, a grocery store, you would then need to purchase those huge machines, right? So we start with residential because they have their own supplies. They're fairly simple. They don't cost a lot of money. You know, most cleaners can outfit their cleaning kit for less than $1,000, including their vacuum, their mop, everything else, right? So yeah, so most of this really it's commercial general liability for your company and then for your cleaners. That's the two-step process. So you need one for your company, and then you need to make sure that your cleaners are signing up for insurance. So if you can make it as easy as possible for them to provide the solution by giving them the link, in my experience, that's easier. Some of them do research, but usually what happens is they do the research and then they're like, whoa, this is really expensive. And then I go, okay, so just reach out to Josh. Like, just click that link. Yeah, and then they click it and then, you know, they ask questions.
Yeah, so I could just show that quickly and then we'll move on. But essentially, this is Foxden, we call it. So it's our online platform. So a couple things on coverage that could benefit, like we do same day coverage. If it's an eligible quote, we accept where some companies don't. First-time business owners, sometimes you have trouble getting insurance, so we're here to help and set up small businesses and new ventures. So essentially, you'd come in the application, you'd fill out information, you'd put your contact info in, hit next, and away you go. You go down 5 steps of a few questions, fairly straightforward, and then you'd get a quote and proceed onwards. But for sure, if you're dealing with your subcontractors on the job, I would provide them this link and let them get their insurance, and let them, you know, figure out exactly what they want, what they need. I would recommend commercial general liability at a minimum, and they would be able to talk to a licensed broker or agent if they're feeling uncomfortable about doing everything online. But that's how we've had our most successful programs set up with companies like yours who are starting out. You get your policy, and then for your subcontractors, you send out this partner link, and they can come in and get their commercial general liability for subcontractors.
Got it. Awesome. Are you ready for Q&A, Josh, or do you have
Yeah,
one?
let's do it.
Okay, cool. So you've already answered the error and emissions one. Crystal asked, is it hard to convince them at first? Yes, Crystal, but the way you explain it, this is what I do anyway. And this is all in my onboarding interview, or my interview, my chat. I shouldn't call it an onboarding one. My first conversation, we talk about insurance. So we talk about their cleaning experience, the test clean, the police check, the references, and insurance. And when I talk about the insurance, I always say, oh, by the way, do you have your own insurance? And then they're always like, oh, I have like car insurance. Is that what you mean? And I go, no, insurance for cleaning. And then they usually will say no. And then you'll say, okay, this is really important. Even if you never work with us, you are putting yourself at risk every single time you go into someone else's house and you clean their house. And I'm going to tell you why. You could spill bleach so easily on $1 million painting. And you just splash it on that painting, and that homeowner can now say to you, hey, you've got to replace this. And it's on you. So we want to make sure you're protected. So even if you never clean with us, please get yourself insurance. 99% of cleaners out there don't have it. And do a monthly payment plan. So they're not as expensive as you think. It's just like insuring your car. You wouldn't drive without insurance. Don't clean without insurance because you're putting yourself at risk. I know you're going to say, you've probably never damaged anything. But if you want to clean in the kind of homes we clean with the kind of clients we work with, you absolutely need to have insurance. And then they're like, oh, okay. So again, remember Oak Bay Clean, we're always focused on premium. So by me talking about $1 million painting, it's doing two things. It's getting the cleaner to go, oh shoot, this company's real. And it's getting them to actually get their insurance because they don't want to be stuck with a bill for $1 million. So that's what I do. You'll have to find your way to do it. You know, and then I don't hard sell them on Foxquilt. I don't need to. I just say, listen, I'm going to send you the link. We did 3 months of research. Feel free to do your own. This one's just really easy. You can do it online and you can have it by tomorrow if you just fill out the steps. So that's my answer there. And then Sarah, hey Vic, do you know the average cost of this? Sarah and Philip, we can have a separate conversation about that because for BC, yes, I know the answer for that. For Josh, do you want to give the answer for that for the general? Because I know you've got a.
Yeah, it does vary based on geography, and that just has to do with just insurance risk overall, where there's pools and certain payouts in different areas. In some Canadian provinces, we've seen average premiums around $300 annually. So Vic, I forget what it is on a monthly basis, but it's like 25 to 30, something like that. So it's pretty affordable. In some states, though, I've seen it go, closer to $1,000 annual. But probably within that range, call it. I know it's a big range, but 300 to 1,000 annual, and it all depends on state. Mostly Canadian is one price, and then coverages that you're choosing. If you do want to get some tools coverage for, a really expensive Dyson or something like that.
I mean, it's
Vic
up to them.
Vic says no.
They're gonna have a Bissell. It's gonna be $150 Bissell from Costco.
Yeah.
That's what most of them will have because they're cheap and they're light and they can replace them. I would say, what I typically say is I typically say it should cost you about an hour of work, like the same cost about an hour. Now, if it's $83, which is what 1,000 would be, if it's a monthly payment plan, so that's a substantial amount of cash. So hopefully it's not more than 2 hours for them.
Yeah, that would be a rare occurrence where it would reach that amount. And then usually what companies do, I saw another question on how much down. Usually it's going to be around 25%. So that's to, cover the immediate risk. And it's almost like first and last style, but it's around 25%. And then there's either we see payment plans on 9, 10, or kind of 11 installments after that. 9 and 10 is very common.
Okay, and then Courtney, what is the range cost for us as owners?
Yeah, usually as small business owners to start, the price isn't going to veer off that much from the independent contractors, so long as you don't have a fair amount of employees. So it's going to be around the range that I said for your commercial general liability.
I think our first year it was like 300 or something. Now it's 600. It's gone up, but it's,
yeah.
Again, like whenever we talk about these costs, I know it might seem like a lot of money, but like there's no business in the world where your costs are this low to start a company with the, all in. We were profitable within 6 to 8 weeks. So keep that in mind. Commercial general liability. And for $2 million is usually what most people will expect. So if you're dealing with, for example, we have one client, it's a commercial client, but it's for 5 houses. So it's residential cleaning. So for them, because they're a commercial client, they needed to see the documentation that it was for up to $2 million, which is totally fair. Like if they burn down a house in British Columbia, it'll cost $2 million to replace that house. So that's totally fair. Okay, Philip, you've got your hand up. So I'm going to go to you. I'm going to lower your hand and ask you to unmute. Go for it, Philip. Philip's in BC, by the way.
Cool. Hey, Philip.
Hey, Josh. First, I want to give a tip of the hat to Foxquilt. I've been on your website And you have carved out a fabulous niche there. I mean, you're covering like personal trainers and yoga instructors and dog walkers and all of
Yeah.
the people who struggle with this. So that's and to Vic for finding you. Well,
That was Jen. That was Jen. She
it was probably, yeah, it's probably Jen. So my question is, most of us are working through a corporation. And so, and we may have more than one business in that corporation. Because we tend to be serial entrepreneurs and we're starting this off and we're doing it part-time. So if we're purchasing coverage, would it be for strictly for our cleaning business, or would it be able to cover our other business as well?
Yeah, we would. So the policies that we're setting up from a small business perspective online are usually going to cover one vertical. So it would be the incorporation with listed operations. So in this case, it would be probably cleaning, but sometimes maybe cleaning companies also do like handy person work. So they would list that operation. As long as the operation's listed, you're covered for it. But I would say if the incorporation does multiple different things outside of the operation that is listed, it would not be covered. In that case, I would say talk to just one of our brokers and agents when you come through for your cleaning quote, but then mention that to them that you'd like to speak around other areas of your business, whether you may or may not need protection, and then we would be able to figure that out for you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Philip. And I love that you notice that it's all the people that are traditionally, they don't know how to get their own insurance, so they put themselves at risk, you know, like yoga teachers, absolutely. Like teaching in the park or something, guarantee they haven't got insurance, right? Maybe they do. I shouldn't say that. Maybe they're smarter than that, but I don't know. I know for me anyway, I wouldn't have thought of it if I became a cleaner. All right, Jean, you're up.
Hey, thank you so much. I have actually two quick questions. And I guess it probably goes to you and Vic and Jen. Do you recommend us getting a copy of the certificate of insurance once they get it through you? And the other question is, just because I'm in Florida, what about if they lapse of insurance? So how often are we checking up on them, making sure that they still have the coverage of their insurance? Because you know, they start paying and they sometime lapse, and like 3 or 4 months later, that's when something horrible happens and they don't have insurance. So how does that work? And how do we make sure that we're protected against that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's very common that companies like yourself who are setting this up would request the certificate of insurance proof. I don't think you would require it to be named, but you could just have a general certificate of liability that we would actually issue, and then the customer can send it your way. And through this partnership as well that we're working on, we should be able to help provide some line of sight. If they did come through FoxQuilt, and you did as well, we can help you in terms of checking in on statuses if you're interested in following up. But I would say semi-annually would probably make the most sense. Definitely annually when we know the renewals coming up on the certificate. If you're requesting certificates on renewal and you don't get one, there's a good chance that it's void because the market or the company didn't resend it to you. They probably lapsed their policy, but I would say at least semi-annually and annual checks make sense. I don't know, Vic, if you have any kind of spot checks that you do or how often you're looking to ensure that your cleaners still have coverage.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to think about it. We don't have any systems in place for that, but we absolutely should. What happens for us is our clients will reach out to us saying, hey, we need your updated insurance, and then we send it on to them. So I should be doing the same thing for the cleaners. That would be fairly easy to do in your Google Calendar, where you could set an alert for yourself for a cleaner. You know, like if you've onboarded today, October 3rd, then in 3 months' time, you want to double check that they're still paying their insurance. But you should probably do that anyway to check in on your cleaners. Like, to me, making sure people are insured and covered is kind of part of just making sure they're okay. You know, like, hey, how's it going? Is everything good? Great. You know, we make sure we do that regularly, but we don't specifically ask for the insurance. So that's a good point. We should. Yeah, for sure. We just trust, and that's probably not good. Sarah asked a couple of questions. So I think we answered the owner company is the commercial general. And then, okay, so the question is, so if a cleaner burns down a $2 million house, why does Oak Bay Clean need the insurance to cover the rebuild? Why isn't you're right, the contracted cleaner is responsible. But here's the reality, Sarah. So here's a good example. We had a cleaner damage some blinds the other day, and she sucked up the blinds with her vacuum. Totally dumb. Easy human mistake. How many times have you used your vacuum and sucked something up, and been like, ugh. So she did that. So now I'm going to the homeowner's house to pick up the blinds, to bring them to a repair shop to get them repaired. We're not going to make her do an insurance claim because she's going to have how much is the deductible, Josh? It's probably $300 or $500 for the cleaner, just like your car insurance would be. So the blinds are going to cost less than $300. Like, it's all just math in my head. Or I could just refund the client and move away and just go, okay, we're done, right? So these are the reality is those are the things you're going to be dealing with. We've never had to deal with any of those big things. But yeah, the cleaner would be liable. It's a big deal. We had somebody in our Convert Labs community. She had a new cleaner going out. She had just started and she had missed a bunch of the calls, but she just ran ahead and started her business without checking to make sure she had everything set up. She sent a cleaner out. The cleaner left a laundry basket on the stove, accidentally turned the stove on. Like, there's two mistakes there. First, why is the laundry basket on the stove? Huh? Second, how did you flick the switch and like not notice? And she literally burnt down this person's kitchen. And new independent business owner, comes into our community and is like, oh my God, help, guys. Like, what do I do? And we're like, well, does she have insurance? And she's like, what? Oh my God, how did you miss that call? It's the most important call. Anyway, I don't know what she did. I haven't actually heard from her in months. So she might have ended up just shutting down her company because, I cannot stress how important this is. I know I've stressed staffing as your most important thing, but this is part of staffing, right? Making sure your people are protected. And I will fix that, Josh. Sorry. I don't know why that happens. You must have muted yourself and then it, But yeah, so Sarah, I hope that answer helps you because that's another one that I use. I use that example with the cleaners and I'm like, hey, listen. And actually, that's another good hiring thing. When you're talking to cleaners, explain to them that you are in a network of 400 other cleaning companies in North America. So all of what you're doing, it works. You're not starting this from scratch. Like, you're protecting them. You're doing all these other things because 400 other business owners that are just like you. It really helps to get the cleaners go, oh, wow, you know what you're doing. Did the owner not have the insurance or did she miss that part too? Wouldn't the homeowners come after the cleaner if the cleaner, I don't even know. Yeah.
The problem is in that situation, like,
yeah,
we can't say for sure what happens, but I do know that when something big or there's a claim, there's going to be suits that go all across the board, right? There's going to be suits that go to your cleaning company that put the job forward. There's going to be on the independent cleaner, right? And then there's probably going to be something within the insurance for the homeowner that they have on their personal property as well. So that's where it gets complicated a little bit, but you need to protect yourself. And so just having your contractors insure themselves and not you poses that exposure, and then vice versa, right? Because usually what's going to happen is it's going to be a multi-suit or claim situation, and then the policies will then speak for themselves. So as long as you're covering yourself, you're set.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and Courtney just said everyone that's on site is liable. Let the courts hash out who has the money and who's not. Totally. The other thing is that we're always conscious of reviews and what goes out there, right? And so one of the things that we talk a lot about with clients when they call us, we're like, all of our cleaners are insured. They have $2 million in general liability insurance. So do we as a company. And then like the idea of somebody writing a horrible review because of not getting something repaired, that just stresses me out. I don't like stress in this business. Okay, cool. Josh, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing all these cleaning businesses get set up and
Me too.
all across the US and Canada. It'll be great. If you do have any questions, you can filter them through Vic. She can share my email as well, so that when you are getting set up, I can filter you in through our teams and through the online model to get your insurance. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Josh, just quickly before you go, can you drop the link
Yes.
into the chat so people can copy and paste it? I'll put it into our community tonight later too. And we'll make sure
Yeah.
for our YouTube watchers that we put it in down below so people can grab the Fox Quilt.
Perfect.
Referral link.
I'm glad this was on Zoom too. For some reason, I thought I was going on some random YouTube platform to like showcase, and I was like, "Whoa, how do I do this?" So
We did
good.
talk about going straight to the YouTube live thing, but
okay,
it was more
that's why,
complicated.
that's
And we
why.
were like, we're going,
Yeah.
we like KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? Okay, there you go.
Perfect.
So
Yeah, you're
that
scaring
link,
me
you
early.
guys, you want to use it for yourselves, but also copy and paste it, put it into your snippets as you're onboarding when you're dealing with new cleaners. For me, it's a way to see if the cleaners are serious, if they even click on it and go to it and ask me questions about insurance. That helps me with the time wasters, because if they're not going to get insurance, they're not worth my time. Okay, so you definitely want to hang on to that, and feel free to do your own research. Maybe you'll find another company that has cracked this independent contractor model. But I will say the fact that these guys understand the IC world, that's the difference. I have other friends who are insurance brokers, and they tried to get us to go through them, and then I was like, you don't get it.
Yeah. And one last thing I'll say, based on the link, our team will know when some of these quotes are coming through, just because we track by our programs that we like to set up for teams like this. So they'll know what you're looking for as well. So just feel free to ask questions. You could always shoot me an email, but I deal a little bit more externally, as you could probably tell from my answers on things like bonding. But some of the team will have definitely all the answers you would need from a licensed broker or agent perspective. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh.
All right. Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave a comment or a question below. And most importantly, go to cleaningcompanyblueprint.com if you're ready to join us in starting your own cleaning company.